Chapter 1. Dr. Lila Chen stared at the clock on her lab wall. 2:17 a.m. Another late night at Nexus Neurological Research Center. At 28, she was the youngest lead researcher in the company's history, something her grandmother never let her forget during their Sunday phone calls. "You work too hard, baby girl," she'd say. "Smart as you are, you need some balance." Lila smiled at the thought as she adjusted her protective goggles. Maybe Grandma was right, but tonight's experiment couldn't wait. Her team was on the verge of a breakthrough in mirror neuron research that could revolutionize treatments for autism, PTSD, and empathy disorders. The lab hummed with the soft whirring of machines. Everyone else had gone home hours ago, but Lila preferred the night shift. The quiet helped her think, and thinking was what she did best. She checked the serum in its containment unit, a glowing blue liquid that had taken 3 years to develop. The neural enhancement formula, or NEF7, was designed to stimulate mirror neuron activity in the brain, potentially allowing patients to better process and understand the emotions and actions of others. "Just one more test sequence," she muttered to herself, carefully extracting a sample with a pipette. Her reflection in the glass cabinet caught her eye, dark brown skin contrasting against the white lab coat, her braids pulled back in a practical bun. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. When was the last time she'd gotten a full night's sleep? As Lila transferred the serum to the testing chamber, a notification buzzed on her phone. She glanced down to see a text from her brother Malcolm. "You still at the lab?" "It's late, sis. Don't make me come drag you out of there." She smiled, typing a quick response one-handed. "Almost done. Big breakthrough coming. Promise I'll sleep soon." The momentary distraction was all it took. Her elbow bumped the sample tray, sending the vial of NEF7 tumbling toward the edge of the counter. Lila lunged forward, grabbing for it. "No, no, no." Her fingers closed around the vial, but not before it cracked against the counter edge. The pressure of her grip shattered the weakened glass. Lila gasped as the serum splashed across her bare wrist, soaking through a tear in her latex glove she hadn't noticed. The liquid felt ice cold for just a second, then burned like fire. Lila rushed to the emergency shower, yanking the chain. Water cascaded down as she thrust her arm under the spray. The burning sensation faded, but something else replaced it. A tingling that spread from her wrist, up her arm, and toward her head. Standard protocol for chemical exposure. 15 minutes under the shower, then medical evaluation. Lila knew the drill, but as the seconds ticked by, the tingling intensified, spreading throughout her body. Her vision blurred, then sharpened to crystal clarity. The fluorescent lights suddenly seemed too bright, the hum of equipment too loud. Something's wrong. She reached for the lab phone to call security, but her legs gave way. The room spun as she collapsed to the floor, water still raining down on her. The last thing she saw before losing consciousness was her own reflection in a puddle on the floor, her eyes glowing with the same eerie blue as the serum. Lila woke to the steady beep of hospital monitors. Her head pounded as if someone had taken a hammer to her skull. She blinked, trying to focus on the ceiling tiles above her. "She's awake," said a voice to her right. Dr. Harrison, the medical director at Nexus. "Lila, can you hear me?" "Yes," she croaked, her throat dry. "What happened?" You were exposed to NEF7 and lost consciousness. Security found you under the emergency shower when they did their rounds. You've been out for almost 16 hours. 16 hours? Lila tried to sit up, but Harrison gently pressed her back down. Easy now. We need to run some tests. The serum was never meant for human exposure, especially not in its concentrated form. Lila nodded, then winced as the movement sent fresh pain through her head. Am I contaminated? Radiation protocols? No radiation, but we're monitoring for toxicity. Blood work so far shows some unusual activity in your frontal lobe and limbic system, but nothing immediately life-threatening. As Harrison spoke, Lila noticed something strange. Each time he adjusted his glasses, a nervous habit she'd observed many times before, her own finger twitched with the same motion. When the nurse entered and checked the IV with a particular flick of her wrist, Lila felt her own hand wanting to mirror the movement. I need to see the brain scans, Lila said, her scientist mind kicking in despite the circumstances. Harrison hesitated, then shrugged. You're the expert. Maybe you'll see something we missed. He handed her a tablet with her neural imaging. Lila gasped. The areas associated with mirror neurons were lit up like Times Square on New Year's Eve, bright, pulsing networks that should have been far less active. She zoomed in, noting the unusual connectivity pattern spreading throughout her motor cortex. This is impossible, she whispered. That's what I said, Harrison agreed. Whatever NEF7 did, it's dramatically altered your mirror neuron system. The question is, how will this affect you? Before Lila could respond, the door burst open and Malcolm rushed in. Her brother's face was tight with worry, his usual easygoing smile nowhere to be seen. Lila, damn, girl, you had me scared to death. He moved to her bedside, taking her hand in his. The moment their skin touched, something extraordinary happened. A flood of images, feelings, and knowledge poured into Lila's mind. Malcolm's anxiety as he drove to the hospital, the basketball game he'd been watching when he got the call, even the muscle memory of how he'd dribbled past an opponent earlier that day. Lila jerked her hand away, overwhelmed. What's wrong? Malcolm asked. I don't know. Lila looked down at her trembling hands. When you touched me, I could feel what you were feeling. I could see what you saw earlier. It was like I was you for a second. Harrison frowned, making a note on his tablet. Interesting. The mirror neuron system is responsible for empathy and learning through observation. If the serum enhanced those neural pathways to an extreme degree. I need to get up, Lila said suddenly, swinging her legs over the side of the bed. Dr. Chen, I strongly advise against, Harrison began, but Lila was already standing. To everyone's surprise, including her own, she moved with perfect balance. More than that, she found herself unconsciously mimicking Malcolm's characteristic stance, weight on one foot, shoulders slightly angled. She'd seen him stand that way 1,000 times, but had never adopted the posture herself. This is wrong, she said. I don't stand like this. I'm standing like you, Malcolm. Her brother stared at her. Okay, that's weird. You even have my lean. Over the next hour, Harrison ran more tests. Each confirmed what Lila already suspected. The NEF7 had fundamentally altered her brain. supercharging her mirror neurons to unprecedented levels. She could now observe and perfectly replicate physical movements she witnessed, access fragments of recent memories from people she touched, and even sense emotional states from those around her. "We need to keep this quiet," Harrison said finally. "If word gets out about what NEF7 can do, people would kill for it," Malcolm finished grimly. "Turn themselves into human sponges, soaking up other people's skills and memories." Lila thought of the defense contractors who partly funded their research. Or worse, they'd weaponize it, force it on people to create the perfect spies or soldiers. Harrison nodded. "For now, only the three of us know the full extent of what's happened. I've listed your condition as adverse reaction to chemical exposure, with symptoms of neurological anomalies under observation. The official recommendation will be 2 weeks of medical leave." "And then what?" Lila asked. Harrison had no answer. 3 days later, Lila sat cross-legged on her apartment floor, trying to meditate. Malcolm had suggested it might help her regain some sense of self. The past 72 hours had been a crash course in her new abilities and limitations. Being in public was overwhelming. Every handshake, every accidental brush against a stranger on the subway resulted in flashes of their recent experiences. Walking through crowds left her with a jumble of fractured skills and memories that took hours to fade. Watching TV had become nearly impossible. She involuntarily mimicked the actors' expressions and mannerisms, sometimes even speaking in their accents afterward without realizing it. Worst of all was the identity slippage. After too much downloading, as Malcolm called it, Lila would forget her own preferences. Did she like spicy food, or was that the delivery guy who'd handed her the takeout menu? Was jazz her favorite music? Or had she absorbed that from the old man playing saxophone in the park? The meditation helped, creating a mental space where she could sort through what was truly hers and what she'd absorbed from others. Slowly, she was learning to control when and how much she mirrored. Her phone rang, breaking her concentration. The screen showed Nexus Security. "Hello?" "Dr. Chen." The voice belonged to James Rivera, head of security at Nexus. "There's been an incident at the lab. Someone broke in last night. They targeted your research specifically." Lila's heart raced. "The NEF7? All samples are missing, along with your research notes. Digital files were copied, then wiped from the servers." "That's impossible. Those files were encrypted." "It was an inside job, Doctor. Chen, someone with high-level access. We're investigating all employees, but I thought you should know immediately." After hanging up, Lila paced her apartment. Who would steal her research? And why now, just days after her accident? The timing couldn't be coincidental. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Your accident wasn't an accident, Doctor. Chen. They're coming for you next. You're the only successful test subject. If you want answers, meet me at Riverside Park, North Entrance, 9 p.m. Come alone." Lila stared at the message, her mind racing. Should she call the police? Nexus Security? But if there really was a conspiracy within Nexus, who could she trust? She texted Malcolm, "Something's happened. Need to show you. Come to my place as soon as possible." While waiting for her brother, Lila pulled up news reports on her laptop. Nothing about a break-in at Nexus. They were keeping it quiet. She switched to social media, searching for any mentions of the company. A recent post caught her eye. A tech blogger had written about rumors of a revolutionary neurological treatment being developed at Nexus, something that could potentially transfer skills and knowledge between individuals. The post was 3 days old, right after her accident. Someone was leaking information. Malcolm arrived 30 minutes later, out of breath from running up the stairs. "What's going on?" Lila showed him the text and explained about the break-in. "I think I should meet this person." "Hell no," Malcolm said immediately. "This has trap written all over it." "But what if they really have answers?" "Malcolm, if someone deliberately exposed me to NEF7, I need to know why." They argued back and forth until Malcolm finally threw up his hands. "Fine, but I'm coming with you. I'll stay out of sight, but close enough to help if things go south." The message said to come alone. "And I say my little sister isn't walking into a potential ambush without backup." His expression softened. "Lila, you're brilliant, but you're not invincible, even with your new abilities." Lila relented. "Okay, but we need a plan." Riverside Park was quiet at 9 p.m., just a few joggers and dog walkers enjoying the mild spring evening. Lila approached the north entrance, every sense on high alert. Malcolm was positioned nearby, pretending to read on a park bench, a baseball cap pulled low over his face. A figure emerged from the shadows, a woman in her 40s with short gray hair and the rigid posture of someone with military training. Lila recognized her as Dr. Victoria Reeves, one of the senior researchers at Nexus who worked primarily with their defense contracts. "Dr. Chen," Reeves said in a low voice, "thank you for coming." "You sent the text?" Reeves nodded. "I know about your abilities. I know what NEF7 did to you." "How?" "Because I helped design it." Reeves glanced around nervously. "Not the version you were working on for medical applications. The original version, commissioned by the military 5 years ago, Project Echo." Lila felt cold despite the warm evening. "What are you talking about?" "I developed NEF7-. You refined it, made it stable," Reeves corrected. "But the core formula came from classified research. Your boss, Director Phillips, brought you in because you're the best neuroscientist they could find. They needed someone who could solve the problems we couldn't, without knowing the true purpose. Which was to create soldiers who could instantly learn enemy fighting techniques, languages, security protocols, just by observation. Imagine infiltration units who could perfectly mimic anyone they encountered." Lila felt sick. "So my accident was arranged. The tear in your glove wasn't a manufacturing defect. The late-night security patrol that conveniently found you before the serum could kill you. All planned. Why me? Your neural structure. We tested hundreds of candidates. Your brain showed the highest compatibility with the serum. They've been monitoring you for years, waiting for you to stabilize the formula." Lila struggled to process this betrayal. "And the break-in?" "Director Phillips is cleaning house. The military wants to move to human trials immediately. Anyone who knows too much is a liability." Reeves handed Lila a flash drive. This contains everything: the original research, the monitoring programs, the list of other potential candidates. I'm leaving the country tonight. You should do the same. Why are you helping me? Reeves looked away. My son was one of the first test subjects 3 years ago, the early version of the serum. It destroyed his mind. He couldn't separate himself from others anymore, became a shell. Her voice hardened. Phillips called it acceptable loss. I call it murder. A twig snapped nearby. Reeves tensed. We're not alone. 3 men in dark clothing emerged from different directions, surrounding them. One raised what looked like a tranquilizer gun. Run! Reeves shoved Lila hard, sending her stumbling backward as the dart meant for her hit Reeves instead. The older woman collapsed instantly. Lila ran, adrenaline surging. One of the men pursued her while the others secured Reeves. Lila sprinted toward where Malcolm was waiting, but another figure stepped into her path. She recognized him instantly. Director Phillips himself. Dr. Chen, he said calmly, as if they'd bumped into each other at a conference. I'm afraid Dr. Reeves has been feeding you misinformation. She suffered a psychological break. We're here to help both of you. By shooting us with tranquilizers? Lila backed away. A precaution. In her state, Reeves is dangerous. And you, my dear, are extremely valuable. Your transformation was more successful than we could have hoped. You did this to me, Lila said, the truth of it sinking in fully. You exposed me to the serum deliberately. Phillips smiled. And now you're the first of a new generation of operatives. Your country needs you, Dr. Chen. I won't be your weapon. You don't have a choice. Phillips nodded to someone behind her. Lila sensed movement and ducked just as another dart whizzed past her head. As she straightened, she found herself face to face with the man who'd been chasing her, a tall, muscular operative with cold eyes. Time seemed to slow. Lila remembered what had happened when she touched Malcolm, how she'd absorbed fragments of his experiences and abilities. This was different. She wasn't touching the operative, just observing him. But as he moved into a fighting stance, something clicked in her brain. She could see how his weight shifted, how his muscles tensed, and somehow she knew exactly how to respond. Her body moved automatically, mirroring his stance but adjusting it to her smaller frame. He lunged at her. Lila sidestepped with a grace she'd never possessed before, then countered with a precise strike to his solar plexus, a move she'd never learned but executed perfectly. The man doubled over, surprise flashing across his face. Phillips stared in shock. Remarkable. You're already accessing kinesthetic mimicry without physical contact. Lila didn't wait for more commentary. She ran, using her newly acquired combat awareness to evade the other operatives. She spotted Malcolm rushing toward her, having abandoned his cover when the confrontation began. "This way," he shouted, pointing to a service exit from the park. They fled together into the night. The flash drive clutched tightly in Lila's hand, proof of the conspiracy, and perhaps the key to understanding what she was becoming. As they ran, Lila made a decision. If Phillips and his military backers wanted to create the perfect weapon, they'd have to face the consequences. She couldn't undo what had been done to her, but she could use these abilities on her own terms. The Echo, that's what Reeves had called the project. It seemed fitting now. She'd become an echo of others' abilities, reflecting back the skills and knowledge she encountered. But unlike the weapon Phillips had intended, she would choose how to use this power. And her first choice was clear: to stop them from doing to others what they'd done to her. Malcolm glanced at her as they ducked into a taxi. "What now, sis?" Lila took a deep breath, her resolve hardening. "Now we fight back, and I think I know just how to do it." Behind them, sirens wailed as emergency vehicles converged on the park. But Lila Chen, scientist, victim, and now something more, was already gone, disappeared into the city that would soon know her by a different name: the Echo.